The Georgia Bulldogs are a beat-up football team. That's what Kirby Smart had to say on Saturday night after Georgia's really way too close of a 13-12 win over the Kentucky Wildcats. And he's right. This is a banged-up Georgia team right now, heading into a very important bye week as they prepare to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide in 2 weeks. But Kirby Smart's really talking about the defensive line, because if you really look at it, Georgia's fairly healthy at linebacker and in the secondary. And I'm going to talk about some of the injuries on offense as well. There's still no excuse, absolutely no excuse for just putting up 13 points in Kentucky. I don't care what the injury situation is over there. They're more banged up on defense, especially on the defensive line. No Michael Williams, no Warren Brinson, no Jordan Hall, who has not yet turned into the player they think he can be. But Michael Williams is one of the best defensive linemen and overall defenders maybe in college football. And Warren Brinson is a veteran, experienced defensive lineman who brings them depth. Here's what Kirby Smart had to say. He said, Kristen Miller and Nazir Stackhouse, they manned up and played a lot of snaps. We knew going into the game that if we couldn't get 3 and outs and they were going to sustain drives, it was going to be a really tough game. We were going to have to score on offense because we didn't have the players to play a 70, 80 snap game defensively. And it kind of turned out that way. We're just beat up right now. And luckily, they do have some time to get a little healthier before Alabama, because they're going to need every single defensive lineman available. They need to be as healthy as possible, because the Tide, they still have guys up front. They've got running backs. They can be a very good offense. And you could say there's still a really good offense right now, even with the new head coach and the new staff there. They still have players, and Georgia needs as much depth as possible. They can't afford to be playing Joseph Jonah Ajanye right now on the edge. When Michael Williams comes back, they won't have to be forced to play him. Very promising player, 5-star prospect out of high school. He was number 99, but he's not ready to play and make an impact on the road in the SEC. Maybe one day, not right now. So, sorry, I just got several texts popping up there from people. That's what happens when I make the videos. People want to reach out and talk about things. But I got to stay in the zone, and the Dogs have to get healthy, because if they can get healthy defensively on the line, that is going to make things even easier for Jalen Walker and those linebackers in the secondary, because they've got a big task on their hands. Not only do they have to contain Jalen Milroe, I'm trying to look at the text now. Focus, Matt. Focus. Jalen Milroe is gonna try to run. Georgia has to contain him. They have to keep him from not breaking off a 9-yard run on a key 3rd and 8, right? He is explosive. Have to make him throw the ball. They're gonna have to get pressure, have to make plays in the backfield, which they've done a good job of this year. They are in the backfield. They are causing havoc. Tyrion Ingram's Dawkins, if I can get the name right, he's coming off a big game, and they needed that out of him without Warren Brinson in the middle. And Michael Williams can play more inside too. He's a guy that can play all over the place. But you saw right away in the Kentucky game, I say right away, they didn't even give up a touchdown. It wasn't the defense's fault this game was tight, but still, Kentucky was able to run the ball, especially off the edge, and you could tell, okay, yeah, they needed Michael Williams for this game. They didn't have him. They still won, but they won by 1 point. He would have helped things. That's what I'm trying to get at. You don't have to play a freshman for depth purposes when your star defensive end is available. Looks like he will be for Alabama. And Warren Brinson can too. He had a really nice game. I think it was against Clemson. He tossed one of those interior guards away like a couple times. He was active. And that's going to help Kristen Miller and Nazir Stackhouse. Those guys are better when they're playing fewer snaps, because they had to play a lot in this game. Jamal Jarrett had to come in and get some much needed playing time on the road against Kentucky. So they are banged up on the defensive line right now, but still they gave up field goals and no touchdowns. That was the difference in the game. Georgia found a way to get in the end zone. Kentucky was settling for field goals and punting the ball with 3 games left. On offense, like I said earlier, there's no excuse. They're not that banged up there. Tate Ratledge is gone for a while. They've got to mix and match the offensive line, which is not an ideal situation. They moved Monroe Freeling around to tackle. Ernest Green has to play better. Xavier Truss has to play better. Dylan Fairchild was a mauler against Kentucky. And yet he wasn't even out there on that final drive. He was for the touchdown drive, they had Monroe Freeling at left tackle there, no under screen, and they had Xavier Truss at right tackle. But there were times when Monroe Freeling was at right tackle and Ernest Green was still at left. They need to figure out a 5 and stick with it. They got 2 weeks to do that. The last thing you want to do against Alabama, because they got guys. I was gonna say they got dogs, but they're not dogs. They're elephants. They're crimson elephants. They got some dudes there though. So if I'm not an offensive line college football head coach just yet, so I wouldn't call myself a perfect expert on this, but you would think that they would try to have some cohesiveness, some chemistry, a legit 5 guys out there against Alabama on the offensive line. You don't want to be mixing and matching too much. You can't have chemistry like that when guys are moving all around. You can try to have as much as possible, but I think ideally in a perfect world, you have 5 guys, you stick with it, and those guys are doing their job. You have to be able to trust the guy next to you every single play. Everyone's got to do their job. And against Kentucky, going back and watching the game, there were a lot of times where they couldn't get that run going because one guy missed his block, or missed his assignment, messed his block up, lost his individual battle, where the other guys did fine, but it's that one guy. If one guy messes up, it can really throw a chink into the run game. And there were a lot of plays where it was either, a linebacker coming through, untouched, unblocked, making a play, or Ernest Green takes one step the wrong way, allowing his guy to get inside and create some penetration in the middle, right? Or it's Xavier Truss not doing his job, just getting beat. And his guy comes in and, forces pressure on Carson Beck, forces Nate Frazier to bounce out. There were several times like that where it was just one guy who messed up and it ruined the play. That's how cohesive you have to be on the offensive line to do your job. And they're healthy at receiver and running back. They've still got some guys who have to, continue to get healthier. There's a weird noise going on in my house. That's why I keep looking. No one's supposed to be here. Feels like someone's walking up the stairs. They shouldn't be. I'll go tackle that assignment after this. But Nate Frazier, I don't think he's 100%. I don't think Trevor Etienne is 100%. Trevor Etienne ran hard. He made some big time runs in this game. But Roderick Robinson being healthy at some point is going to help this team. They're going to rely on him, I think, when he is healthy. But Branson Robinson had a really tough physical run. I don't think, for the touchdown, I don't think that was blocked properly either. There were guys in the backfield, and he had to kind of create and then run through 2 guys to get in the end zone. That was a really tough run. And I'm going to expand on that in just a second. But first, I have to mention collegeruns.com. This is the #1 Georgia Bulldog statue on the market, and you want yours outside of your house when the Dogs take on Alabama in 2 weeks. Get it today. Promo code DAWGPOST, DAWGPOST. Everything, all the 5-star reviews, right? And where you can order is in the description below in this video. Don't miss out on that great opportunity to get your Bulldog, #1 Bulldog statue on the market, nothing like it. Promo code DAWGPOST. Okay, but yeah, Georgia had just enough depth on the defensive line to win most of those battles there and secure the victory. The defense played great, and since they are healthy at linebacker and they are healthy in the secondary, getting those guys back will be key, because then even for Alabama, I think it's going to be tough to move the ball consistently up and down the field, do it multiple times on a truly healthy Georgia defense. Too many guys out, and I think that allowed Kentucky to rush for more yards than most expected. But at the end of the day, yeah, they're out an offensive lineman. They're banged up at running back, but they're healthy at tight end. They're healthy at wide receiver. They have to play better. There's no reason from an injury standpoint that Georgia only scored 13 points. They only gave up 12, and that's where most of the injuries are. And Jordan Hall is banged up, and when he gets better, I'm not saying he's going to come out and start and make some immediate impact, but he still provides depth, and he can do his job out there. This is year 2. Jamal Jarrett's another guy they're going to have to rely on in a big way, I think, against Alabama. They need him to be the player they recruited him to be sooner than later. And he's still got some time. He's just a second-year player, but he's promising. He is getting better and doing his job and taking on blocks and eating up space. He doesn't always have to light up the stat sheet. In fact, in some ways, you don't want him to. You want him to do his job, and that's not always making the tackle. It's helping someone else have room to make a tackle and make plays in the backfield. But yeah, Kirby says they're banged up, and there are probably some guys going through injuries that no one really knows about, or some minor stuff going on that maybe happened in the Kentucky game or whatever. But the good thing is that they can look at what went wrong against Kentucky and fix that as they get healthier. 2 weeks to go. Kirby Smart, though, he said he doesn't have time to get healthy. He said, I don't know that we can rest and recover. I mean, that's what people think bye weeks mean. We've got to find ways to improve and get better. You know, we're really beat up coming into this game, specifically at one position, defensive line. And it was a really tough week for us. I've got a lot of respect for the guys that stepped up and played. So, yeah, kudos to Kristen Miller and Nazir Stackhouse and Tyree Ingram's Dawkins and Jalen Walker, who was all over the place. Those guys had to step up and play key snaps. But the healthier they get, obviously, the better they're going to be. We'll see how healthy they can get over the next 2 weeks because it's important when they go play the Tide, they're as healthy as possible. Thanks for watching. Get your Bulldog today, and I'll see you over on the website.